Welcome to Untold Mysteries. Today, I'm about to take you into one of the strangest unsolved cases in modern history. A case so haunting, so chilling, that even half a century later, it still refuses to give up its secrets. This is the story of the Isdal Woman. It begins on a cold November morning in 1970. The air in Bergen, Norway, was biting, the sky gray, and the mountains cloaked in silence. A father and his two young daughters were out hiking in the Isdalen Valley, a place locals sometimes called Death Valley. The name wasn't random. Hikers had perished here before, either from accidents or darker circumstances. But that day the family was about to discover something far more disturbing. As they walked through the valley, one of the girls suddenly froze. Something unusual was lying among the rocks, half hidden from sight. It looked like a body. The father stepped closer, and then he realized it was a woman, badly burned, lying on her back. The scene was horrifying. Her clothes were charred almost beyond recognition. Around her lay an assortment of strange items. An umbrella, some bottles, pieces of jewelry, scattered strangely on the ground, almost arranged rather than dropped. And nearby, traces of burned paper. This was no ordinary accident. This was something much darker. Police rushed to the scene. Immediately, detectives noticed inconsistencies. The woman's body was badly burned, but not in a way that suggested she had simply caught fire while walking. No, this seemed staged. The position of her body, the objects placed around her, the manner in which the fire had burned, it all felt deliberate. Even stranger was what they did not find. There were no signs of a campfire, no matches, no lighter. How had this woman managed to set herself ablaze in such an isolated valley? The investigators began searching for clues. They found fragments of clothing labels, but each one had been carefully cut out. Every single identifying mark on her clothes was gone. Her fingerprints, sandpapered away. Her teeth. Dentists later discovered unusual dental work, the kind not common in Norway, possibly from Eastern Europe. This woman, whoever she was, had gone to extraordinary lengths to erase her identity. But why? And who would do such a thing? Detectives turned to her belongings for answers. At first, there wasn't much to go on. But soon, more pieces emerged. She had 2 suitcases, left behind at Bergen railway station. Inside them, investigators found more bizarre evidence. There were clothes, again, with every single label cut out, a prescription for eczema cream, with the doctor's name removed, wigs, sunglasses, cosmetics, and most chilling of all, multiple passports, each with different names, different nationalities, but all pointing back to the same woman. Was she a spy, a fugitive, or something else entirely? Wait until you hear this next part. One witness came forward, a hotel worker. He remembered a striking, elegant woman staying at his hotel not long before. She had dark hair, a mysterious aura, and spoke several languages fluently: German, French, Flemish, and possibly more. She often changed her clothes, switched wigs, and never stayed in one hotel too long. Sometimes she registered under the name Genevieve, sometimes Claudia, sometimes something else. Always polite, always distant, but always watching. Other witnesses described her as foreign-looking, with an unusual accent they couldn't quite place. Some said she had met with unknown men during her stay. Others claimed she seemed frightened at times, as if someone was following her. The police built a timeline of her movements. In the weeks leading up to her death, she had traveled across Norway, staying in multiple hotels under false identities. She moved with precision, as if covering her tracks. And yet, she left just enough of a trail to suggest that she wanted to be noticed, or perhaps to confuse anyone who might be following her. And then came one of the strangest pieces of evidence of all. In her luggage, they found a coded note, a series of letters and numbers. At first, it looked meaningless, but when investigators studied it closely, they realized it was a record of dates and places, the hotels she had stayed in. A secret travelogue, written in code. But if she was just a traveler, why hide her movements in such a way? Theories began swirling almost immediately. Some said she was a spy. After all, this was 1970, the height of the Cold War. Norway's proximity to both NATO and the Soviet sphere made it a hotspot for espionage. Could the Isdal woman have been caught in the deadly games of spies? Others wondered if she was fleeing from something or someone. Maybe she had secrets too dangerous to keep. Maybe she was running from people who finally caught up with her. But there was something else that puzzled the police. The autopsy revealed that she had taken a large dose of sleeping pills before her death. Some traces of alcohol were found in her blood as well, and yet, the burns on her body were so severe that it was hard to tell if she had died before the fire started, or because of it. Suicide, murder, or a cover-up, so perfect that the truth would never be known. The case exploded in the media. Norway had never seen anything like it. Newspapers ran headlines about the mystery woman of Isdalen. Reporters speculated wildly. Spy, criminal, secret lover, even assassin. The public was fascinated, horrified, and desperate for answers. But none came. The police tried everything. Interpol was contacted. Descriptions of the woman were sent across Europe. Her dental work was checked against databases. Her fingerprints, though damaged, were compared internationally. But nothing. No match, no family, no country claimed her. It was as if she had never existed. And here's where the story gets even stranger. Witnesses began reporting strange encounters. A young man claimed he had seen the woman walking near Bergen days before her death, followed by two suspicious men in dark coats. Another said she had been seen dining with military-looking figures in a hotel restaurant. Someone else insisted they saw her carrying a notebook, scribbling in it, then quickly hiding it whenever anyone looked too closely. The puzzle grew deeper and darker. By December 1970, just weeks after her discovery, the Isdal woman was buried in Bergen. Her coffin was lined with zinc, in case her body ever needed to be exhumed. But the ceremony was small, attended only by police officers and clergy. No friends, no family, no identity. She went into the ground as she had lived. A mystery, and yet, this was only the beginning. Because in the years that followed, investigators, journalists, even ordinary citizens, would uncover more details, clues that pointed to espionage, double lives, and dangerous secrets. But every answer only led to more questions. And to this day, no one knows who she was, or why she died in that lonely valley. Stay with me. Because in part 2, the story gets even darker. Wait until you hear what modern science has uncovered about her origins, and why some believe she was part of a secret spy network, hiding in plain sight. Before you go, tell me in the comments, do you think the Isdal woman was murdered, or was it a tragic suicide, carefully disguised? If you enjoyed this story, and want more untold mysteries, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who love dark history and cold cases. Your support helps us uncover more stories the world has forgotten. Because, sometimes, the strangest mysteries are the ones we'll never solve. The investigation into the Isdal woman should have ended with answers. But instead, it only opened doors to more questions. And each clue was stranger than the last. Let's go back to her movements. Police reconstructed her final weeks by checking hotel records across Norway. What they discovered was unsettling. She had checked into at least 9 different hotels, using at least 8 different names. In some places, she was Genevieve Lancier. In others, Claudia Nielsen, or Alexia Zarni-Merches. Each identity came with a different nationality: Belgian, German, even South African. Yet every time, the handwriting on the forms was the same. And the descriptions? Always vague, sometimes inconsistent. Brown eyes, or hazel. Dark hair, or was it dyed? The woman was deliberately changing her appearance. Wigs, makeup, even posture. But there was one detail that stayed the same. When asked about her profession, she always claimed to be a traveling antiques dealer. Was it true? Or just another cover story? Then came the witnesses. Hotel staff recalled odd behaviors. She often requested rooms with balconies. She always paid in cash, never a credit card. Sometimes she left behind the "Do Not Disturb" sign for days. One maid remembered entering her room, only to find the woman sitting completely still, staring into the mirror, as if she didn't recognize her own reflection. Others said she carried large, heavy suitcases, too heavy for her small frame. What was inside them? No one knows. And then, there were the meetings. Several witnesses described her being approached by men, tall, well-dressed, speaking German. Sometimes she met them in the lobby. Other times, she left the hotel late at night, returning in the early hours. What business was she conducting in a foreign city, under false names? Wait until you hear this next part. Investigators interviewed a Norwegian man who claimed he had met the woman weeks before her death. She had introduced herself as a Belgian antiques dealer. But as they talked, he noticed her accent was unusual. Not quite French, not quite German, something in between. When he asked where she was really from, she avoided the question. Instead, she leaned in and whispered, "You will forget you ever saw me." And she walked away. The more police uncovered, the more the case smelled of espionage. This was 1970, the height of the Cold War. Norway, as a member of NATO, was strategically important. It hosted military installations, surveillance posts, and radar stations monitoring Soviet activity. Foreign spies often traveled through the region. Could the Isdal Woman have been one of them? Let's look at the evidence again. Multiple passports, wigs and disguises, strange coded notes, sudden travel patterns, meetings with unknown men, and the deliberate erasure of her identity. It fit the pattern of a spy perfectly. But there was one problem. No intelligence agency ever admitted she was theirs. Not the Soviets, not NATO, not anyone. If she was a spy, she was either too secret to claim, or she didn't belong to any government at all. The autopsy raised even more suspicions. Doctors discovered traces of phenobarbital, a powerful sedative, in her system. Combined with alcohol, it was enough to make her drowsy, but not unconscious. And then there were the burns. Severe, covering her entire body. But curiously, her lungs contained smoke. That meant she was alive when the fire started. So the question was, did she set herself on fire in some elaborate suicide ritual, or did someone else do it, making it look like suicide to hide murder? Police leaned towards suicide, but many disagreed. For one simple reason: who commits suicide by setting themselves ablaze in a remote valley after erasing their entire identity? It didn't make sense. And then came the most chilling clue of all. Investigators tracked down the shop where she had purchased the boots found at the scene. The owner remembered her. He said she was elegant, but nervous, and she wasn't alone. Another man was with her. He stood silently in the background, watching her every move. The woman barely spoke during the transaction. The man did all the talking. Was this her handler, her controller, or her executioner? The police tried to follow the lead, but just like everything else in this case, it led to a dead end. By now, newspapers across Europe were calling her the mystery woman. Conspiracy theories exploded. Some said she was an Israeli Mossad agent, tracking secret nuclear deals. Others believed she was a Soviet spy, collecting intelligence on NATO in Norway. A few even claimed she was a double agent, working both sides until someone decided she knew too much. And yet, none of it could be proven. To this day, the most mysterious part is her luggage. Those 2 suitcases at the Bergen railway station. Inside them, police found cosmetics, clothes with no labels, a coded notebook, and then a strange spoon with a fingerprint on it. For decades, no one knew what to make of it. But modern investigators believe the spoon may have been military issued. Another link to espionage. Still, nothing was certain. The more you learn about the Isdal Woman, the more the mystery deepens. It's as if she existed only in fragments, pieces of a puzzle that will never fit together. But part 3 may hold the closest thing to answers we've ever had, because in recent years, scientists have used cutting-edge technology, DNA, isotope analysis, and even facial reconstruction to uncover new clues about her identity. Clues that may reveal where she was born, how she lived, and why she died, so don't miss it. In the next episode, we'll explore the modern breakthroughs in the Isdal Woman case, and the shocking theories that still haunt Norway today. Before you go, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe she was a Cold War spy, or just a woman hiding from a dangerous past? Leave your theory in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by this mystery, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Untold Mysteries, and share it with a friend who loves strange history. Your support helps us keep uncovering the secrets the world has tried to forget, because sometimes the past is darker than we imagine. The Isdal Woman was buried in Bergen in December 1970. A nameless grave, a zinc-lined coffin. Police were forced to call it suicide, but almost no one believed them. And for decades, her story remained frozen in time. But the mystery didn't end there, because 30 years later, investigators decided to reopen the case, and what they found with modern science was shocking. Let's start with her teeth. During the original autopsy, doctors noticed unusual dental work, gold crowns, sophisticated fillings, and patterns not common in Norway at the time. They suspected it came from somewhere in Eastern or Central Europe, but no one could be sure. Years later, forensic scientists used isotope analysis, a cutting-edge method that studies the chemical signatures left in teeth and bones by the food and water a person consumes while growing up, and the results narrowed her origins to 2 possible regions: the border between France and Germany, or somewhere in Eastern Europe. That meant the Isdal Woman likely grew up in a multilingual environment. which explained why she spoke so many languages. It was the first real clue to her true identity. But then came DNA. Researchers extracted a partial DNA profile from her remains. Unfortunately, it wasn't complete enough to match with global databases. Still, it revealed something important. She was European, likely of mixed heritage, possibly with Eastern roots. And then came the face. Using her skull, forensic artists created a reconstruction of what she may have looked like. The result, a striking woman with high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes, and dark hair. The image was shared widely across Europe, in hopes that someone might recognize her. And incredibly, some did. Witnesses from the 1970s came forward once again, saying the reconstruction matched the mysterious woman they had seen in Bergen, the elegant traveler, the woman with wigs and false names, the woman who always seemed to be watching and waiting. But who was she waiting for? And why did her journey end in fire? Let's look at the theories. The first and most widely believed is espionage. The Cold War was at its peak. Norway, as part of NATO, was home to sensitive military sites, radar installations, and secret submarine testing grounds. Some investigators believe the Isdal Woman was a spy sent to gather intelligence. Her wigs, disguises, and coded notes fit the pattern perfectly. And her presence in Bergen, a city with strong military importance, wasn't random. But if she was a spy, who was she working for? The Soviets, NATO? Or was she a rogue agent, playing both sides? The second theory is assassination. Some argued that she was killed because she knew too much. That her death was staged to look like suicide, a brutal fire masking a professional execution. This would explain the sanded-off fingerprints, the missing labels, the deliberate erasure of identity. Because the best way to kill a spy is to make sure no one knows she ever existed. The third theory is suicide. Police originally leaned this way. After all, she had sleeping pills in her system, and traces of alcohol. Maybe she was a lonely traveler, a woman with no ties, and the fire was her final act. But then the question remains, why the wigs? Why the false passports? Why the coded notes? It doesn't add up. And then there's the fourth theory, something darker. Some believe she was part of an underground network, dealing in nuclear secrets. Norway at the time was quietly developing heavy water, essential for nuclear research. Could she have been involved in illegal transactions, caught between intelligence agencies? If so, her death may not have been about who she was, but about what she knew. Even now, more than 50 years later, the mystery haunts Norway. Her grave, marked simply with the date of her death, has become a site of quiet pilgrimage. Visitors leave flowers. Some leave notes. Others just stand in silence, staring at the nameplate that reads, "Here lies an unknown woman. Found dead in Isdalen, November 1970. Imagine that. A life erased so completely that all we have left is a mystery. But the story doesn't end here, because even today, journalists and amateur sleuths are still chasing her ghost. In 2017, Norwegian broadcaster NRK launched a full investigation. They interviewed dozens of witnesses, tracked old police files, and even tried genealogical DNA testing. The case exploded online. Suddenly, the Isdal Woman wasn't just a forgotten cold case. She was alive again, in the public imagination. And yet, despite all the efforts, her identity remains unknown. No family has ever come forward. No intelligence agency has ever admitted to knowing her. No country has ever claimed her. Woman is still a phantom. And maybe that's the point. Maybe she was never meant to be remembered. Maybe her entire life was designed to vanish the moment she died. But one thing is certain. Her story has endured. A warning, a riddle, a secret carved into the mountains of Norway. So now, I'll leave you with this question. Who do you think the Isdal Woman really was? A spy caught in the shadows of the Cold War? A victim of a secret romance gone wrong? Or a woman who wanted the world to forget she ever existed? Tell me your theory in the comments below. And if you've stayed with me until now, you've proven yourself braver than most. Because mysteries like these aren't just stories, they're reflections of the darkness that lives in history, and sometimes within ourselves. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Untold Mysteries, and share it with friends who love strange history and unsolved cases. Your support helps us bring more hidden stories to light. Until next time, remember, some mysteries will never be solved, and that is what makes them unforgettable.